actually, what I'm now doing is, I promised that paper for the 4S conference in Tokyo in August. So we are now looking at diffusion patterns, yeah, for technological breakthrough. But then you shouldn't take those large terms like nanotechnology because they change all the time in meaning. But we are looking for nanocrystals, yeah, which are important for solar cells, yeah, or we are looking for other specific medical technologies, yeah, when there is a breakthrough in 1983 or in 1993, and what does happen, how is the diffusion pattern in terms of disciplines and in terms of geography. And for that purpose, and that's very nice because that takes me to my last picture, we developed an overlay of Google. That was my last picture which I wanted to show you. Oh no, it's... oh, and then I have the same problem with the internet here now. I had it opened. Maybe it's still there. No, it isn't.
You can just copy and paste.
Yeah, I can copy and paste. That's how it works. So this will take some time. And Korea will show up. And that gives me time to answer a question from the lady from Vietnam. Yeah. Which she already raised in the break. Yeah. And it relates also to your question. To say something about China. Yeah. Because I know that China is a big neighbor here and a fierce competitor. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Yeah. So the technique is now available. If you look at the paper, is accepted but still under submission. It's Hans data. So the collaboration data between these two universities is 27. Yeah. You can make it yourself. It's on my website. All these things which I try to make are on my website, and I try to make manuals. I'm a bit behind in making manuals, but you can find the materials to make it yourself. So this was Hans' data about collaboration between Korean universities. I don't know, co-authorship relations, I suppose.
그 16개 강력 시도 사이에 그러니까 공저자 네트워크거든요. 그러니까 제가 신정철 교수님하고 논문을 같이 썼으면 대구하고 서울하고 그러니까 하나의 그 선이 이제 만들어지고 그래서 그 선의 굵기가 굵을수록 두 지역 사이에 냈던 공저자 네트워크가 많은 걸로 이렇게 표현되어 이런 16개 시도 사이에 네트워크 구글 맵을 이용해서 이렇게 이제 다이내믹한 그림을 그릴 수 있다는 것을 이제 레이더스도르프 교수가 이제 보여주기로 하네요.
So we're writing down. If you take my website www.leydesdorff.net/gmaps, then you can find the instructions of how to do it. I made it this morning. I asked because we had such a nice day last night, and I told him, I asked my wife to send me some files. Since there's a time difference, it was no problem. Okay, back to China. It's different research. It's with Ping Zhu, yeah, about the Chinese publication system. I already mentioned a bit of it. So. I can show some of it tomorrow if I have enough time to prepare that. I did some work first. Let me tell the story. Yeah, it's a nice story. I was in Beijing in 2003 on invitation, and someone came to me and said, "You have such nice pictures always of journals in your articles." I said, "I don't like them so much because they are very much on the DOS still. They're not on the Windows." And then she said, a nice lady, she said, "Can we also do that with Chinese characters?" And then I said, that's a good opportunity for me, if we do that together, to do it on the Windows, because on the Windows it's no problem to have Chinese characters or Korean characters or whatever. So we did it with Chinese characters, and she had the whole database for the Chinese journals. Yeah, I'm always dependent on people who have beautiful data. Yeah. And so we made for all the Chinese journals the same interface as we had for the Western journals, the ISI journals. And we now have them also for the Scopus data. Yeah, and for the arts and humanities recently. So it gave me the opportunity to look more carefully into the Chinese data, and I already mentioned to you, it's overwhelming. It's some people will know about mode 1 and mode 2. Yeah. So you have mode 1 knowledge production. That's the ordinary knowledge production, which is disciplinary oriented, and the mode 2 is more application oriented. Yeah. So you can think about it as orthogonal. Yeah. And this is from Gibbons, 1994. This distinction. So and of course in the West we continuously complain about that we have only disciplinary oriented knowledge. We don't have application oriented, not enough. Yeah. And in the university they want to push out the engineering school. You told me the same story for here. Yeah, because people want to do disciplinary work. Yeah, that's a part of the problem. And of course you have technical universities, but in China they have, because of this communist system, they had a different structure. Yeah, and they had this two types of journals which were interacting with each other. The one type of journals doing the disciplinary type of work, and the other type of journals doing the sectorial. So for example, agriculture or medicine or application-oriented work. And these were the university journals, which were not specific with disciplinary labels. So they have a richer system in a certain sense, something to be jealous about from a Western perspective. But now the system is of course drifting very strongly in the direction of that all the Chinese are wanting to publish in the international journals. And that creates an enormous push on the system, because there is an enormous reservoir of intellectuals there. Yeah? Much larger than the Koreans have, or whoever has. Yeah? Who all want to publish in the, and that creates exponential growth. And we see exponential growth for such a long time. We have never seen that before. What we are used to is linear growth, and Han showed linear growth for Korea. And linear growth means that people who are intellectuals and university professors and start to publish in English. Yeah. And that is for the Netherlands and for the Scandinavian countries, that is early 80s. And for Italy and Spain, that's early 90s. And for Korea, it starts somewhere in the 90s. Yeah. And Japan still has to do the job. Yeah. Because they are too large to do. And that's different for the social sciences. So we looked also to the social sciences. If you look at the social sciences, it also comes. It comes later. Yeah. 10 years later. And Hans showed that also. Yeah. And perhaps for the arts and humanities it also comes, but let's not go into that. And we recently looked, then we got data from a group in Nanjing, yeah, who had done the Chinese Social Science Citation Index. And we got data from them, 2007 data. And we looked into that, and that was amazing to see. Because I don't have the, but I can draw the picture. So if you take, can I work on this? I think I can. Sorry. They will find a way to erase them. So if you take 1995, 2010, and you take the Science Citation Index, it's like that. Yeah? It's exponential. And if you take the social sciences, if you take and all other countries, like say, let's say Germany, for example, it's like this. And that's because it's 100% in total, so everybody else has to shift a bit down. Yeah? So everybody is complaining that they're going down, but they're not. Yeah? Yeah. You just have to make room a bit for Asian countries, because it's not only China and Korea, it's also Taiwan and Singapore. Yeah, but that's so. And then you do it for the social sciences, and you see for Germany, you see happening this. And if you do it for China, you see, if you don't take Hong Kong in, you see this. So the social sciences are not international yet. It means, in the opinion of my co-author, Ping Zhu, that the social sciences have not yet been reformed. They still have the old structure. So they don't participate in the modernization process sufficiently. That's the main conclusion of the paper. This is an answer to your question, my lady. Yeah? Is it? No, not that. Okay. One question. One. Yeah. Yeah. I hope I understand your question.
Yeah. They have a certain number of power officials in there, and also university sector, we have some certain number of people. But each sector has different size of the population. Actually, or just different size of these three groups.
So the first question is about the relation to DNA and double helix. And double helix can be stable. Yeah? So double helix can also replicate, as we know. It can also be for long periods of time, it can be stable. The triple helix, you can show that it can be hyperstable, metastable, or destable. So there is an additional dynamics to the stabilization. Let me try to explain it. The stability comes from if you have mutual shaping, then it clicks into the system. Yeah? In the DNA, it's very clear that it can click into a system, that it can hold together. Yeah? So a dual system can be stable. As soon as you add one more dynamics to it, it can be metastabilized or destabilized. We can get, and you could even say that globalization is one of the possibilities. Yeah, because stabilization is for two, and globalization, some stabilizations can, I sometimes express it like this. So you have variation and selection. Some selections can be selected for stabilization. Some stabilizations can be selected for globalization. So you can have that. So triple helix is more a model of fluxes than a double helix. You can probably see that.
What measure of the power of rotation?
Okay. I'm dependent on whether people can measure it. Hans Pike has to give me the data. But I come to your point, yeah? So let's say the government is the center of power. That's the show. Yeah? So the political system, but we know there is also political processes going on in the universities. There's also political processes going on in industry. Yeah? So there's everywhere politics. There's everywhere also economics. There's everywhere also knowledge. Because, so obviously we are talking about a different type of characterization. So if we, I'll not use that. That's why I'm drawing it like this. I'm wondering which rhymes. Yeah. So if we have, for example, a university.